3. Andrew Chappelle, I'm super happy to talk to you today. I'm happy to talk to everything from your experience from on Broadway, the Blind Spot series, and then also the uniqueness even on social media where you say the Black and indigenous, is it thoughty?
Thoughts. But that's the thing about social media is like you really only have a really tiny amount of space to like encapsulate your entire being, right? Which is so tough sometimes. You're like, how do I say who I am in 3 or 4 words?
Nice. No, I love that. I would love to really just talk about your experience from growing up in the Black Beverly Hills, Baldwin Hills,
Oh,
to
yes.
what took you through this journey to acting on screen, on stage. Take me back to the origins.
Oh my goodness. And I still drive by my old neighborhood sometimes and just remember what a unique and special place Baldwin Hills was when I grew up there. So for those who don't know, it is a suburb here in Los Angeles that was made up of pretty much exclusively upper middle class Black families that were not able to buy homes in the traditional wealthy white neighborhoods like a Beverly Hills or a Bel Air. And they created their own community, like, because we're resilient people. And so that's where my dad lived, and that's where I grew up, in that house. And as a result of this amazing community, one of my mentors, still to this day, I talked to him. It was my neighbor 4 houses down, Hal Williams, who, for those of you who don't know, Hal was on a lot of famous sitcoms in the 70s.
227, you taking me back. We just interviewed him a couple of issues ago.
227, Sanford and Son, The Waltons, MOESHA. This man worked. He was TV's dad, and so he was my dad's really close friend, but he also became my first acting mentor. And his daughter was my agent when I was a kid, when I was like a child actor, which is how I got started on MOESHA. It was just a special, unique place. I actually didn't realize that the world wasn't like that until I went to college. And I was like, oh, this is different. Where are my people at? But I loved growing up there, and also something that was unique about growing up there was everyone was like older. It was all like older Black people. So so that is what kind of started me on my path. I was singing in the choir, as most of us do, start out in church, and I sang in that choir until I couldn't sing it anymore. It's like every week you're blowing out your voice. and I remember one of my choir directors, he was like, yeah, no, that's good. When you blow out your voice, just keep singing on it. It makes it stronger.
It's like, wait a minute, that's not how that works. That's not how this operates.
Yeah, I wish somebody had told me that. But and so that is, I was always musical. And so that was always my dream, was to move to New York and be a big Broadway star. And I'm fortunate that I was able to make my Broadway debut so young. I made it at age 22. I just graduated from college, moved to New York, and it's this milestone in your life that you kind of anticipate is going to take a long time. You're just like, I've been working and I've got to do this and make the connections and and then when it happens for you, or for a lot of people, it happens younger. It is wonderful because you've achieved your goal. However, it kind of relieves you of this pressure of this huge thing. You're like, oh, okay, this is just like a job. And what else is there in life? And so I was able to kind of make that realization younger and start to kind of create this other plan, which is what I'm currently living right now, which is being on television. But the pit stop between that first Broadway show and television was Hamilton, of course.
I really love that you said that, right? Because it's something that, especially I think in your industry, the first question anyone asks you is, what were you on? What's the last thing? Where have I seen you? It's never, hey, so do you like your frittata this way? Or do you want Spanish ham or Portuguese? It's like, dang, I am a person too, and I appreciate that, but then it makes it where you are driving just towards a next job, a next gig, and not, enjoying life. When, in your experience, when did you realize that it was kind of like, you know what, though I'm a working actor, thespian, all those things, but also I'm Andrew, and Andrew likes to do this. Andrew likes to do that. Andrew likes to relax at home in his sweats and watch How to Get Away with Murder and drink the wine, acting like he's Olivia
How
Pope.
did you know? How did you know I like to be in my sweats and drink wine? I thought I was so unique. What's interesting, because I'm a workaholic. I'm a Catholic school educated gentleman. That it doesn't matter how artsy I am or how hippy dippy I like to think I am. I do love structure and I do like achieving things. However, I do, in my own way, really try and carve out moments. I try and carve out a moment a week, but definitely a month where I have a big personal, like, yes moment that isn't associated with the acting, my acting self. So like, for instance, last month, I really wanted to check out Sundance, the film festival. I'd never been, I'd heard so much about it. And I was going to go for 4 days, and I was like, I'm going to go 2 days to the festival, and 2 days I'm not going to do the festival. I'm going to ski because I love to ski. And if for people who like to ski, I don't ski that often. It was like an amazing moment for me, and I was actually able to do both things in one trip, which is amazing. I'm also looking forward to going to Coachella in April. So it's like I try and plan out these things that make me happy, where I can't really work. Like, I can't be like working at Coachella. No.
Everybody's gonna be too hyped up on whatever they're drinking or taking.
Oh, exactly.
Nice. To go back to, where did the love for entertainment come from for you?
I don't know. Neither one of my parents are performers. I mean, my mom was a lawyer, so there is an aspect of performance to that, to that field. But my household was animated, like playing, the neighbors coming over and playing spades and bid whist, and that, like, I'll never forget going to college and people were like, you're so loud, you're so loud. And I was like, oh, it's because I literally had to scream in my house to be heard sometimes. But yeah, I remind me the question.
No, where did you get this love for entertainment come from? Like, that you knew it was going to be where you want to go?
Yeah, it really was. It was because I just tried everything, and this was just the clear path forward. I really did. I tried everything. It did kind of start when I was doing theater camp as a kid, but then in school, I remember distinctly having to recite every year. Like, there was like the speech and poetry contest.
Yeah.
And really, like, not being afraid to get up and speak in front of people, and seeing how opposite of an experience that was from my classmates who like didn't want to speak. Or I loved it, and I would do the research, like, I would do all the famous speeches, Gettysburg Address, the I Have a Dream speech, and you go and you look it up, and you read about it, and you talk to your neighbor, and you that is what I did, and I really enjoyed that. So it kind of started there, and then we did the camp, and then I did my part on MOESHA, and then it was like, okay, I think that this is something that I could see a future for myself in, and I have. It's been an amazing ride. I'm glad that I chose this instead of golf. Which I love playing golf, but I'm not great at golf.
No, I love that. You know, and I'm all about taking like everyone getting to go through this journey with you, right? Where it got you here today. How was it being a part of a show like MOESHA? You know, because I think it's just so amazing when you can say, and not just say, but you can see. You know what I mean? A lot of people say, dang, you know, I was on the show. You'd be like, oh, which one were you? Oh, yeah, I was sitting at the table. But when you had like, you know, speaking roles, engagement, you know, how did that even come about for you? And how was the experience? Two-part questions.
Well, you know, Moesha in particular was a very like insider Hollywood kind of thing. The way you hear about all these, you know, people that know somebody getting the show. But basically, my agent's husband at the time wrote on the show,
Oh, nice.
and they had cast this adult man to play this part, and they needed the younger version of him, and they couldn't find him. And my agent's husband was like, actually, my neighbor looks like that kid. And so that's how it happened. But I mean, at the time, that was a huge show for Black kids to watch. I mean, like I watched Moesha every week. That was it.
Uh-huh.
And so to be on that show was like that was a huge moment for just for me, the little boy me,
Yeah.
and also Brandy. I mean, to me, Brandy is still one of the biggest stars in this household.
Yeah.
And I was telling my buddy Cody the other day, I was like, something that was really special about that experience was that she, I didn't have a scene with her, but when I finished my scene, she came to like say hi to me because she knew I was a big fan, which like, you know how these things are on set. She did not need to do that. She did not need to leave wherever she was to come and say hi to this random kid that was only working a day. And it said a lot to me about who she was.
Yeah.
And I do feel incredibly lucky to be a part of some of these like cultural moments, you know. Hamilton also being another one of those where it's like, oh my God, to say that I got to be there when it was happened, the first whispers of it was like nuts.
Yeah.
Because none of us really knew that it was going to become
crazy. Like I have people who like literally live and die by that, like that production. You know, there are people who are like, I need to see that when it comes into town. Don't matter if it like, you know, so. And speaking of that, how was it being a part of that? It's like, you know, it's each step, it's like, you know, built up to that where it's like, it's a part of the cultural history for African Americans in the US.
So when I graduated from college and I moved to New York, there were not a lot of jobs for people like me, not in the way you know, certain people have used that at award shows recently, but like for someone who is like truly mixed race,
yeah,
and depending on who I speak to, indeterminate race,
yeah,
there really were not a lot of the opportunities were not popping the way they are now.
mm-hmm.
And so I kind of had to like really strategically look at the landscape and be like, okay, how can I fit? How can I participate in this industry? And so my way in was through Mamma Mia, but as the longer I spent in New York, the industry started to change, right? In the Heights was there, and all of a sudden there was just more. There was just more. And so now, now that Hamilton has hit, it has started the careers of so many amazing performers that it's going to echo throughout our industry for years and years and years to come. So to be there and to have been able to be a part of that first class, that first graduating class of Hamilton, you know, it is moving to me sometimes, you know, when people will reach out to me and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do it. And then I saw the show and it's like, wow. So yeah, it was very special to be able to be a part of that and
Nice.
continue to be.
You know, and I love to hear that because especially you touched on something, especially being biracial like yourself, but also where it's, you know, I always tell people it's weird. It's funny because in acting, in the entertainment industry, just even in music, a thing has to be a thing. There has to be a place on the shelf or something. And it's definitely harder for African Americans who, not saying you don't identify as African American, but when the writers or the producers don't see you as that African American, they identified in that script that they wrote. You know, it's like they have this mind. I have a mind for Drew to be this dark-skinned dude, and you're like, wait, I can act the hell out of this Drew, but Andrew is not that dude. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's so weird. So how have you been able to, because everyone's not Zoe Saldana and Rosario Dawson, you know what I mean? Like, they get any role. They can play anything on the sun. But I think it's harder sometimes for ambiguous type of like Black men, because the industry kind of like looks at you as this or that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. I was walking my dog and I was just like, wow, like depending on who you speak to and depending on their perspective, it's always harder. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, it's harder for this, it's harder for that. And I I had to have a lot of conversations with my like very first agent about this, because he would send me in for these parts and I was like, dude, like they ain't gonna go for me in this part. It's just like, I would read the script and there are a lot of gatekeepers in this industry, and sometimes I don't think that they always understand the nuances of the giant umbrella of Blackness, of like, yes, like there is this type of person, there's this type of person, and I always like to just be honest with what my ability is, and that was something that happened in the beginning of my career. Now that I've really gotten my feet wet and I feel like I know my strengths and weaknesses as an actor, I'm more inclined to be like, you know what, I'm going to give this a stab, even though I don't think I look the way they want this role to be. I'm still going to interpret it in my way and let them decide. Yeah. Because it's like, there's enough people that are going to say no to me in this industry. I can't be saying no to myself, right? Let me at least try.
Hey, the worst thing is like, look, if I know you're going to say no, I got to at least say yes. Someone has to say yes here.
Somebody got to say yes to me.
Exactly.
And at the bare minimum, it's an amazing opportunity just for me to try, just to act, and to get better. I mean, because that's what it's all about, really. It's like you get better on every job, you get better on every audition.
And I think the thing that is harder, especially if you're very super ambiguous like yourself, where they can't, really place it, because it's different when it's like the Tias, the Tamaras, the Tajes, where it's like, okay, we can put you in a story where one of the parents might be Black and the other could be white, and and that's how they can do it with Zoe Saldana and Rosario Dawson, or they can make it Latina or something, right? But I think it's harder for them because they don't know how to really place it. I think it's when you don't have that type of like look for them, where it's like, okay, now we kind of have to, how do we cookie cutter like the parents, the family, and this student and this guy, you know what I mean? And I only say that because I think it's such a testament to your strength and your ability to maneuver in this industry, because there are less roles written for you exactly. So for you to go out there every day is really a testament for your love for the craft and not giving up.
Listen, my superpower is persistence. and really and truly, there is no one like me. That like, and of course that goes for everybody, but to really, really believe that. And I do believe that. And television is incredibly specific. And so to know, okay, yeah, maybe there aren't that many roles being written for me, but damn, I'm going to try and change someone's mind, or one day someone will write a role for me. But that is why I cherish my role in BLINDSPOTTING, because I get to play an out character on a television show, and I get to be authentically myself. And so I am so aware of how special that is and unique that is, and it's why I cherish my time on that show.
Nice. Before I want to talk about BLINDSPOT a little bit, I want to say one thing, that if anyone, whenever they hear this and they're watching this video, you did mention the most Blackest thing for the community ever early on when you said spades. You mentioned spades in the house, so that is the Blackest thing, because they never teach you how to play it. They just say you don't know how to play spades, and you're like, where did you all collectively? I don't know how to play that. Where did you all collectively learn this game?
Yep. And you better get your books correct, because if you say you got 3 books and you don't get your 3 books, you are going to get reamed out by your auntie. We would play spades backstage at Hamilton so much we would get in trouble.
Oh,
They were
really?
like, okay, y'all are playing two spades too much.
I love it. That's as black as it can get. I love that celebration of
Yep,
blackness.
and people would be all upset if you stole their partner. And yeah, it was the whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Oh man, that's amazing. So blind spotting, how was it for that show? How did you land the role? And what did you take away from what a show like that can do culturally, just socially in an awareness standpoint for us?
Well, there is a thread here from Hamilton because David Diggs, who is one of the co-creators of the show, along with Rafael Casal, David and I did Hamilton together, and the lead of the show, Jasmine Cephas Jones, also was in Hamilton. We all did Hamilton together, and I mean, this is now several years after Hamilton that Blind Spotting, the television series, was getting made, and I just moved out to LA and, I needed a job and I auditioned. I auditioned for the part. And even though, I had friends that were doing the show, you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, the industry is crazy and there's a lot of people that have a lot of input in these decisions. And I'm thrilled that it went my way because the show is so incredibly unique. I believe that it is a new genre of television. It is this heartfelt, hilarious dramedy that also has spoken word and rap and uses dance as a storytelling device. And it's so artfully shot. So to be a part of something like that is very meaningful to me because it's more than just me being on a television show. It's me being a part of something that I believe in and getting to work with my friends. So it checks a lot of boxes for me.
Nice. No, I love that. I love that. We have about 7 minutes left. I always like to be conscious of our time. So that's a time check for myself. But when it comes to being very queer and out and spoken as yourself, which is amazing. How have you been able to navigate this industry, especially when it comes to, certain roles? You always have this type of thing. If you're like open and out, can you get this role or will only these roles be available? Can you let me know a little bit about your experience that way?
Well, it's hard to tell sometimes, right? You audition all the time and you don't get things all the time. And you don't know why you don't get them or why you do get certain things that they don't. I wish they did sometimes, send me a little note and say, loved the read, but
Yeah.
um, I I have to say that, I see the world changing every day.
Mhm.
Um, I have to believe just the way the industry changed while I was living in New York, and all of a sudden there was no Hamilton, and then one day there was a Hamilton. I have to hope and just keep faith that the industry will continue to change in positive ways that includes everybody. And so I think that Blind Spotting is a really great example of that. I think it's a truly diverse show from the people behind the camera to people in front of the camera. And there are many times I do audition for roles that are wonderful and representative of myself. So I just have to just hold the faith and be like, listen, something else is gonna pop, as life rolls on, because there are so many people in this town right now that are working on scripts and I have no idea what they are. And we'll see. Time will tell.
Nice. I love that. And before we go, you also wrote and produced your own short film, correct?
I did.
Please tell me about that.
So this short film was kind of born out of me moving to Los Angeles in the middle of the pandemic. And yes, I grew up out here, and yes, I have some lifelong friends, but also kind of wanting to kickstart a new community of artistic people that when you create a job, you start meeting people. I need a DP, I need a director, I need this. And so I just started reaching out to people, but it's an LOL-gasm idea. I just wanted to write something that was just funny from beginning to end with a high joke frequency, kind of like 30 Rock writing style. And it's about these two failed boy band members that get a chance at a success for the last time when they compete for a boy band competition.
Nice.
And I was able to recruit one of my old Hamilton castmates, Taran Killam, who is a Saturday Night Live alum, to direct for me. And then one of my really, really good friends from high school, Esty Hyam, who was in the band Hyam with the Three Sisters, she and I co-wrote the main song at the end that the two boys write. We wrote a boy band anthem for this movie. And so now the exciting part is, now that the movie is done, and I'm so happy with the end result, we are starting to get accepted into festivals. In fact, one should be being announced this week. I think it gets announced on the night. So that's exciting to now start to receive some validation for this movie that I put so much work into. I had no idea how much energy and effort it takes to make a movie, but now I know.
I love that. Before we end, and thank you for this, are there anything that we should be looking forward to this year from you?
Well, you should definitely be looking forward to Blind Spotting. It makes its premiere in April, and we're previewing at South by Southwest, which will be so exciting. Blind Spotting season 2 is going to be a roller coaster. I'm so excited for y'all to see my character Scotty in season 2. He is out and about with the girls, which is great. I'm not stuck at work all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be my main thing for you to keep your eye out, because you want to be in the know about that show.
Yeah.
And then also, for my short film should be hitting these festivals at a city near you.
Nice. I love that. Well, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for today. I had a great time speaking with you, and I always hope that the other person has as well.
I had a great time.